Episode 83, RP Strength, Trifecta, Inside Tracker.
We just came off the week of the plague, and Jim tried to ensure that I was going to get it, and I did not. Knock on wood.
You weren't here Monday, so I'm guessing you had it.
I wasn't sick at all. No one told me what was going on Monday, so I didn't show up. I didn't think anyone was doing anything.
We do the same thing every week.
I heard nothing.
We do the same.
So
we do the same thing every week.
I heard crickets. No one responded to me, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just work out of my garage, and I did that.
So
she threw up.
I did not. I swear on my life.
She threw up all day.
I swear.
Okay.
That little, the little cat that has a hand. This is where I'm at.
I would never want bad for you permanently
You
in any
did
kind of
that
a way.
day.
Permanently.
Like I wouldn't want that permanent, but just one day of. Because you're so dang cocky about it. You're like, it's not going to happen to me. I'm going to eat some kale. I'm going to whatever.
It's honestly amazing that it didn't, because the whole day we did the podcast before I felt sick, and then
And we shared equipment.
Yeah, we shared everything.
Yeah.
I just didn't lick my fingers. It's fine.
Oh.
So, Rich and Cam, I'm glad to see that you guys are back to functional health.
I was never gone.
Rich,
I didn't miss one day.
Rich, get this, gets the stomach bug and shows up and swims 3,500 meters
true.
like hours later.
We actually had this
was impressive,
conversation
honestly.
about you when we were talking about this. I've seen you sick, and then fitness while it's been going on multiple times now. Remember when we were where were we, in Texas?
Oh,
and
man.
Darren was like...
Yeah.
You did it during your train with
didn't
Rich,
come
too.
out of the hotel room.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
what is that? How do you do that?
I don't know. Something sick in my head. I don't know.
You just go to work.
Australia had it too when everybody got it. I had it a little bit less than everybody else, I guess. I never quite got to the throw up level with it. I did on this last one. I projectile and I'm not my wife can. I'll walk by the bathroom and she'll be sick, and all I hear is the throw up hitting the toilet. Like no noise, no anything. I don't understand that. Where I'm it's
someone's yelling,
like there's a demon
Releasing the
coming
demons.
out.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's like a full out yell. Hillary gets so mad. She's like, "Can you not be quiet?" I'm like, "No, I physically cannot.
No.
Quiet.
I physically cannot do it."
Oh, gosh.
So it is what it is.
Is
I was
this like
apologizing to Tasia too as I was doing it. I'm like, I'm sorry you have to hear this.
well, you left here fine, and then that evening text
Yeah. Before the
I knew
workout.
it, though, because during the workout, you're not a, overexerted workout puker. Like Tedward would, go outside and ugh. Well, Cam's not that way. In the middle of the workout, she's, crouched by the rocks, and I'm like, are you okay? Do you need a paper towel?
Beforehand, I was, kind of getting the chills and, feeling weird. And then I did, we're doing clean and jerks at, 65 pounds. I did, 6, and I'd set it down and be like, oh,
Busy.
my gosh.
Oh, no.
I squatted down for, 30 seconds. I'm like, something is not right. So I was actually kind of relieved when I puked, because I'm like, at least I have an excuse for my
The whole deal is kind of
performance.
you're trying to, it's coming. That's the worst part. And you're almost like, am I talking myself into getting it?
Right.
Or is because all my kids had it while we were in London. And then when we got home, Hillary got it Tuesday night, something like that. Yeah, it was when Tuesday night. Lakeland got it Tuesday. And then Hillary got it Tuesday night. And she was in bed for a full 24 hours. And then about 4 or 5 o'clock, I come inside from training, and it's just comes in waves where it gets a little bit worse each time, and it keeps coming up, and I'm like, no, maybe I'm just talking myself into it.
Right.
Lakeland got it, Hillary got it, maybe I'm no. And then sure enough, I walk into the bedroom at 7 or 8, and I'm like, Hillary, we're about to have a problem. She's like, what's that? And I'm like,
have a problem.
we're about to both have this. So she's like, all right, well, I'll try to get up. And then about 8 o'clock, it was full on. I'm on the couch, feel like crap. So
It's way too much information, but Rich is a bucket puker, and until you explained it to me, now it makes sense to me.
I hate
didn't
laying
really
in the
get
floor
it before.
waiting by the toilet, so I just carry a bucket, a big bucket. So it's there when I need it. I don't have to I can lay on the comfort of my own couch and then throw up when I need to.
That makes sense.
The Lakeland bucket story was kind of funny too. How Trice was like,
Yeah, my mom. We went to pick Lakeland up. She was hanging out with my mom and Trice. I actually took him over there for a little bit because I was getting my hair cut towards the end of it. And, mom's like, yeah, Lakeland says her stomach's hurting. She's not feeling real good. And the other two had already had it. So I'm like, crap. She's like, but here's a bucket. And I'm like, all right. So she's got the bucket
that's where I get the bucket from.
in between the two car seats. And she falls asleep. So I'm like, all right, we're good. No problem. Next thing I hear is "Bleh!" in the background. And I'm like, oh no. And I look, and Trice had smacked the bucket into the floor. It wasn't full of anything yet, but I couldn't reach it. Like I'm like, like you're like, don't do it.
Get the bucket.
She's just throwing up down her front. You're just like.
People were sick all over Cookville, actually.
At
my wife's
school
office,
for a couple
they closed
days.
school.
Yeah.
Oh, when I went to go swim by myself in Lebanon on Monday, all the kids were there, and I thought it was weird. Oh, I should tell you what interesting. So I go to swim in Lebanon, and
By yourself?
Yes, by myself alone. And there were lots of kids
It's
there.
swimming. You can swim by yourself.
No, but it's 3,500 meters alone is like.
It's really not that bad.
We were basically alone.
Me and Cam did not talk one time. There were 3 lanes between
But
us.
you both had the same workout.
No,
like,
I thought
you
no,
just-
we
I'm
really-
like,
like, it was-
you're riddled with guilt
Not
if you're
a
not
word was
doing the
said
same.
that didn't need to be said.
No,
It
there was no, and
amazing.
it was a workout that was based on time anyway. So like, there's no, I don't know why you drive an hour and a half up here to
Kids,
swim.
it makes it
at
so much better.
7:30
It
in
is
the morning. No, it does
infinitely-
not.
Ask anyone. Even who said it? Haley said it to me the other day. She goes, "I see why you do this."
No,
because
I would swim
it's-
by myself.
Anyway,
it's fine.
So let me just tell you the story of.
The rest we take during the swim anyway are not conducive for talking.
It's not about talking. It's doing the same workout with people next to you. Like it's not as
important
bad.
to
It
Elly.
goes by quickly.
Did you see how she introduced the topic? When I was swimming 3,500
By
meters
myself.
alone. And I didn't...
Anyway, but
Go on.
it prompted this. So I found out the kids were sick in the Lebanon pool. So
Oh,
that
no.
area, not the kids.
Oh.
Sorry, there's no any. Okay,
It's
anyway,
like a
reset.
Petri dish, the Lebanon pool.
Yes. So a nice fellow walks up towards my lane, and I'm like in the shallow end, and he looks like Doc Brown, like from Back to the Future, but he has lime green skivvies on, just a lime green Speedo, and he's probably about
Skivvies?
skivvies. I don't
Skivvies,
know what
Speedo.
else.
Okay.
Yeah, I just made that up.
It's underwear.
But this is not a good picture in my mind at
Yes.
this point.
Well, I mean,
Doc
he's-
Brown in a
yeah. So
bikini.
he's walking towards me, and I was like, "You can share with me, if he's like, I just walk, and long story short,
He's walking while you're swimming.
yes, and
Same lane.
same lane in
He's
his
just
lime green
walking?
skivvies. Yep,
Hey.
and I knew from the get go, like he wants to talk, and I'm like on this interval, and I was like, I know right now he's gonna stop me in the middle of my interval, and I will not restart no less than 15 minutes. But Tasia was reading this book the other day about being present with people, and sometimes strangers need your time. So I decided I'm
In
going
a
to be
pool?
present.
While you're...
I would have just
On your time
avoided
interval.
eye contact and
I
just
would've-
continued.
So
Nope.
next thing you know, I'm shaking hands. We've exchanged names. He's telling me, he goes, it was hilarious. He goes,
I don't know that that's the right
goes-
thing to do.
he goes, I'm going to really, really help you out right now. And I was like, maybe you see some of my swim shirt. Maybe he's watched walking up. And he goes,
Elly,
You shouldn't drive to Cookville.
there are
no.
just
He
all
goes,
kinds of red flags about this conversation.
Well, he goes,
He's in his underwear.
Yeah, he's half
Looks like
naked.
Doc Brown.
He obviously is
He's
crazy.
walking in the pool.
He doesn't have enough sense to know that you're swimming, and he's going to get in the water and stop
And he
you.
wants to help you.
and he's going to help me. And he goes,
And you said you exchanged contact information.
I missed that part.
no, names.
Oh.
And
You told him your name was like Rachel.
Belinda.
Belinda, right.
So he goes, around here, you really have to know how things work. And he goes, I'm your go-to for knowing the schedule in the pool. I can tell you when people come. And he goes, you know what would be a catastrophe for you? And I was like, oh my gosh, what?
Swim lessons.
Right? And he goes, you show up here at 6 a.m., it's a catastrophe. And I was like, oh my, why? And he goes, you've got people already in their bathing suits waiting at the front door to get to the lanes.
He was obviously
Well, if
crazy.
you go back to 1955,
He was obviously crazy.
So anyway, we
Well,
had
he's
a
trying to be helpful at
he
least.
was. It was a very nice exchange. And,
I met
and
Tom from Father Tom's there.
what?
Did you?
Yeah, the old retired professor.
Oh, right on.
We were talking. His name's Tom. I forget his last name. But then we're talking on the way. He goes, I own a pub in town. And I was like, Father Tom's? He's like, yep.
Oh, right on.
I thought you were
But he
saying
wasn't in a
1955.
Speedo in
No.
your lane.
No.
But you gave him time. That's all that
At
matters.
the end of the workout, while I was doing my cool down, the
Oh.
underwaters. So, yes.
Yeah, seriously, if somebody was in your lane in a Speedo, whatever, how she's described it, and you were swimming, you wouldn't just stop and talk to him.
He stopped me, and it's like I get
Were there
that.
all the other lanes full?
Oh, and this
There's
is the
only
best
like
part.
2 swim lanes.
He gets
'cause
in
I
with
went
me,
there
and
once.
everyone leaves. And then I'm like there.
Because he was crazy.
So then move to the other lane.
Asked, I said, is it going to make you feel more comfortable? I didn't want him to feel abandoned if I move over. And he's like, he goes,
what?
He was literally thinking about killing you.
You're too nice, Elly.
What are you talking about?
He was thinking about...
It's probably better if you do move because then you don't splash him.
Oh, that was a lot of...
He's walking.
It was chaos.
You didn't think about moving to the open lane?
It got busy. Like, it was too much. It was too fast.
Goodness.
Anyway, so it was, I think that the elderly population needs people to talk to sometimes.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
At certain moments, you can go visit.
100%.
You don't have to do it in the middle of your workout.
I was in the water I turned into a prune.
Mm-hmm.
But it was,
There's a really nice older guy that comes into the tech pool, and he's just got like such
nice
a positive like attitude.
He looks like...
He's got a mustache.
He looks like the guy off the Lorax.
Yes.
Have you seen the Lorax? You know who I'm talking about? That's him, the nicest guy ever.
He's
but
like,
every time I see him,
but he won't interrupt you though. Only if he sees you standing there, and he'll say, "Hey, how's it going? The water feels great today, doesn't it?"
Yep.
It's just like the greatest thing ever every morning.
He's also one of those older guys that walks around the locker room naked. That you're like,
you're like, hey.
Yep.
Hey.
I love when the elderly population shares wisdom, though. Like, I love the swimmers at the pool.
This guy's super good, but this is exactly what he looks like. Like, they made this character other than...
That's totally him. It's just a gray mustache.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's awesome. Such a good stash, too. Such a good stash.
Awesome.
But he looks like the air delivery guy. And that guy's super nice in that movie, too.
The pool regulars are
Old Theodore Wiggins.
I had to stop a person at Poets the other day because I was really, really wanting to work. Mm-hmm. And she wanted to stop and have a really long conversation, and it just got way too far. And usually I'm really all in with just talking to people and kind of trying to segue.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how you get anything done at Poets. They walk in and they target you. There's there's silver. Let's do this.
It's become more like that now, and I'm actually switching up what I do. I can't wait till the coffee shop opens up here.
I was about to say, you're about to have a spot here.
Yeah.
Oh, how long till?
I don't know. We ordered the espresso machine.
That's awesome.
What do you call it?
Buffalo Brew Coffee House.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool logo.
That is
Yeah,
cool.
it's a cool logo. Dre did it.
Did he draw that?
Ish.
Looks good.
He took something and kind of traced. And Dre's all spacey out there, and he's like, I don't think we should use the buffalo because you got Froning Farms and it's too many buffalo. And I was like, there's no such thing as too many
isn't it kind of like the whole intertwining,
But he's like, then you're stealing logos from others, and I'm like, I get what he's saying, but I'm like, just your
It was really
he's like
cool.
trying to differentiate.
It looks cool.
It
Yeah, it looks
really good.
awesome.
Yeah,
He's really good at that.
Yeah, Dre's awesome at that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be my new spot, man.
Should be cool.
pumped.
You know, we got some tables coming in this week from Rogue. We're gonna put some stand-up desks. They're high desks,
Right.
and then the workbenches, and then a conference table, and then we'll have a couple of those rooms that people can rent if they want to have like a little private space in there
that's
too.
cool.
I was gonna say, should we go to
really good
Walmart
idea.
and like just buy those reserved things when people aren't looking? Just put it
Put
in
'em on
our
there.
spot.
Yeah, so
We need this
cool.
reserved room so
Yeah.
Elly can get away too and get what she needs to get
Yeah.
done.
If I
'Cause
ever,
she's too nice.
if I ever take a nap in Cookeville, Tennessee, I think my life will be complete.
Oh, wow.
Like a midday nap is like just this thing that I've dreamt about for.
Have you got to planning the menu? Like, are you going to have some drinks with
actually
names?
meeting with Kyle tonight about
cool.
some stuff.
Right on.
Cool.
He's
Are you
gonna do some
feeding people there
consultation.
too?
Not starting out. We don't have to do the whole health department thing.
Mm.
We may
makes
have like
sense.
Ralph Spring Donuts or something like that. They've got new owners, so they're wanting to like
They did. Someone bought that.
do
That's
some
cool.
new
Oh, really?
stuff. But yeah, we just ordered that espresso machine, which is not cheap. We ordered a Espresso Hydra MVP, which is
Wow.
Sounds
really
fancy.
nice. Yeah.
Now Rich
Yeah.
knows another level of things about coffee.
I don't really know espresso yet. I'm working on it, but I have been.
love
I've
espresso.
been messing around with some different temperatures,
Mm-hmm.
different like brew ratios and stuff. Because I think I told you 1 to 15 is what I was using.
Mm-hmm.
I actually backed it down to like 117 and 118,
Mhm.
and like the temperature to 195,
Mhm.
and then so for a while I would let it bloom for a while, like where you let it wet and let it sit
Right.
there for a second.
Right.
But I just let it do that for 30 seconds, and
Yep.
then every 30 seconds add 50 grams of water, and it's made it a lot less bitter. It's actually, because you think, in my head, I was thinking more coffee the better,
Yeah.
so the ratio lower. But the higher it's actually been a little bit better. So it's kind of fun to tweak around with
Yeah.
that stuff.
Why
Are
not
you
that?
gonna have allowed like hippie things mixed in? Because sometimes we use almond milk, but recently tried oat milk. It's
Oat milk is good.
It's actually really good.
For
I
alternative
had that the other day.
fantastic. So maybe
Yeah.
you get some hippie stuff.
Is
maybe.
that hippie-ish? Oh, no.
I mean, I don't know that, like, if you go to, like, Starbucks, do they have oat milk, not
oatmeal?
Yeah,
I mean, if
milk.
there's a demand for it, then yes. I mean, but if it doesn't,
I'm out of the
the
loop.
cost doesn't,
Yeah.
it's a business. So, yeah, no, I mean, we've got to
So that
look at all that stuff.
that grinder that you bought, I think like
Which grinder?
well,
my home grinder or the one here?
No, the one for
The
here.
one here, Wilmer just doesn't know how to use it because it's connected to the actual brewer
Okay.
here. So, like, they actually, like, Bluetooth together, apparently, or something. And
Okay.
Wilmer just doesn't know how to use it yet.
I got you.
And so that's what we've got to figure out.
I
All
got
that
you.
type of stuff.
Because when he was trying to make the coffee at the Classic, he struggled, so he went over to Poets.
Yeah, he didn't know how to, like, they're trying to, like, force the thing to change the grind size.
Oh.
And you have to flip this little latch that says unlock.
Oh.
And then
no.
you can twist the grind size.
Yeah.
Ruh-roh.
So it is what it is.
That's
Learning
cool.
curve.
That was cool that Jeremy over at Poets, like,
Yeah.
let
great
him bring
guy.
a machine
Great
over,
guy.
and that was cool.
Yeah.
So we could grind it up, and that's awesome. That's going to be cool.
Yeah,
I'm
it should
excited
be cool.
about that.
Yeah, we're
That is really cool.
like I said, that man, the espresso machines. You can like go top of the line. You can go, decent but still middle of the line, and it's still super expensive. So you might as well go top of the line because if you go middle of the line and you're like, oh, we're
Ready for the
cranking
top.
out all this stuff, we're gonna buy a top of the line. Then you've like almost spent. What do you?
There's
You
the
joining
dude.
us, Trice man?
There's the dude.
Welcome.
The dude.
And now we have Trice
Welcome.
here.
The head dude.
We were talking about it earlier. You weren't in there. Trice, we're having a problem with him doing private part checks
oh,
because
not on himself, I'm assuming. On other people.
on random people. He'll walk up and he does that on himself too.
Right.
But he'll walk up and go pee pee, and he grab you right in the crotch. And we didn't realize. I'm like, where's this coming from? You always we always go to him, and you're like, you check his diaper. You pee,
Oh.
and so he thinks that's like
I gotcha.
Like a normal
common
greeting.
etiquette. You know? Like,
He's checking your diaper.
like, oh, we screwed that one up, huh? Because he'll just walk up. Like, I never noticed it.
That's awesome.
Just dude being a dude, and then Hillary's like, hey, we got to be careful because he's like walking up to me, he's walking up to your mom, he's walking up to random people and going, you pee pee, and just like grabbing, and you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, you can't do that, man. So it's
That's a good story
it's
right
so
there.
good because you don't think about it.
Yeah.
And it's so innocent, but he's just like, oh yeah, you got a diaper
Yeah.
too, you pee pee.
Yeah.
Oh.
Such a mess.
My wife tells her favorite story about her son,
Mhm.
who's now grown man, but every morning he would go pee off the back porch.
Yep.
And then they had a wedding one day in the backyard, and you turn around and there's Lawson with no pants on, like
Nice.
What you gotta do?
doing what he's got to do, waving at folks. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
I had one of those when I had shoulder surgery, so I was 16, 17, something like that. And I came out from being under and was super sick and like throwing up, didn't handle the anesthesia very well. And so they gave me a Finnegan shot, which makes you super tired. And they're like, I get out, and they're like, we can give you this shot. It'll make you super tired, but it'll make you the nausea will go away. Or we can not give you the shot, and you'll keep throwing up. So they give me the shot. Well, as soon as I get the shot, I throw up again. I'm like,
Oh,
thanks,
gosh.
guys. But anyway, so it makes me super loopy. I'm already super loopy. So mom tells the story. She's like, I had to sleep in a recliner. And so I'm in the living room. She said she walks in at like 10 o'clock at night to change the ice packs on my shoulder. Well, she walks in and I'm gone.
Oh,
She's
no.
freaking out. She's like, goes downstairs because that's where my bedroom was. I'm not down there. She goes to the bathroom, not in there, blah, blah, blah. Well, we live, where my dad lives now.
Yeah.
We used to live on that white house on the corner there. Granted, not high traffic, but it's still a main road.
Right.
She said, she walks out and I'm just pissing off the front porch.
Right.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
It's like 10 o'clock at night. Cars could have been coming right
Yeah.
through there. I don't remember it.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah.
What's going
I'm free.
on?
So, yeah.
It's good stuff right there.
Boys will be boys, I
That's
guess.
hilarious.
You came out of anesthesia quite a few times this year, too. We had that conversation the other day.
Man, I had my wisdom teeth taken out in just here for, what is that?
Like, you never even got
7 or 8
fluffy.
No, 7 or 8 days ago. But that I'm always worried about that. Right when you come out, what are you going to
What are you
say?
gonna
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I woke up the next day and I did not remember going from the chair to the car and then home. I didn't remember it. I was really trying. I'm like, what did I do? And Kristin, she's like, you were really sweet. She's like, you kept rubbing the back of my head and saying, oh, honey, thank you for taking care of me. She's like, you were really sweet all the way home. Nice. And you kept wanting to pull the gauze out of your mouth and we're choking. But I was like, phew, I didn't say something stupid. Wow.
Jeez. Yeah. I don't even remember the last time I had anesthesia. But wisdom teeth, I remember my mom told me, I guess, on my way home, we used to always listen to this radio station, and an hour in the middle of the day, they played the retro lunch, and I just despised the retro lunch. Like, why do you have to ruin a perfectly great, which, in retrospect, maybe it was nice. Whoa. Well, retro now is different than it was when I was in high school. So anyway, I woke up sobbing, yelling, not the retro lunch. Not the retro lunch. I love it. Yeah.
That's what you were saying?
Yeah. Because obviously it was retro lunchtime, so.
Wow.
I just had that instinct.
The go-to oral surgeon in Cookeville is Dr. Owsley, who is also a CrossFit Mayhem member and has been for a while. And I don't like going under without knowing when it's happening.
Yeah.
That really bothers me.
Yeah.
And so I sat down in the chair and I'm talking to the lady, and the next thing things are getting cloudy. I'm like, did you put the...
Gone.
Boom, you're just gone.
What'd you do to me?
I don't like that. Because then... Yeah. You think, oh, crap, man. Honestly, what if I die? This is it.
Oh.
Like, those are thoughts going through my head. Like,
at least it would be very peaceful.
I've only had one of mine pulled.
Only why what?
I don't know. That's what he said.
Silver thought he had 4.
It was like impacted, I guess. And then I didn't even go under. He just
really?
Saw it on it, started cranking, saw it on it, cranked, saw it on it, cranked, and just pulled it out.
I've had, stuff like that happen. I got really, lightheaded and stuff, but they didn't put me, I've never been under general anesthesia before.
Lucky.
Yeah.
And this last couple years between my triceps and knees and...
Yeah. You've been down for the count a couple times. You said, you gave me a crazy number. It was like...
Four times, right?
So much.
Did you get any dry sockets?
No.
The worst.
Oh, I did.
That's what the first thing I asked him to.
I started working out as stuff. I got home from getting it pulled and worked out.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Bad idea.
I was like, okay, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just not, because I'm too old to be dealing with dry sockets.
And it's really,
so bad.
apparently.
Do they do anything for it?
Yeah, they can pack it with this stuff.
I got this gel you put back in there.
So for a couple days, or a week or two, I just suffered through this dry socket. Didn't think there's anything to do. And they're like, yeah, just come in. They put this stuff in, immediately goes away. And I'm
probably in 5 minutes, too.
Yeah, they're just punishing you.
What the hell?
I did the same thing, though. I went for a run, so soon after. And it's my mouth was, pulsing. I remember. I'm like, this isn't a good idea. And I just kept running. And I was like, it'll be fine. And then paid for it.
Oh.
Yeah, dry socket.
Well, I didn't even know I had wisdom teeth. I thought I got them out in college.
That's the funny thing.
I had 2 of them taken out, but my recollection was that they were all taken out. And so I was at the dentist, and they were like, hey, you should get these wisdom teeth taken out. There's a cavity in both of them. Don't worry about fixing them. Let's just pull them. I'm like, I don't have wisdom teeth. The dentist is like, no, I'm the dentist. Here's the x-rays. You do have wisdom teeth. They should come out. So,
were they top or bottoms?
Tops.
I only have this one pulled on the bottom left.
Can you feel did your other ones come out?
Yeah.
Like a caveman.
Yeah, all.
So you've never been under general anesthesia? You have.
Just for teeth, I think. Yeah.
You never had a surgery or anything, from your car wreck or?
There were times that I was unconscious, but it wasn't from anesthesia.
Daily basis for her.
What is that supposed to mean? I'm highly conscious.
2, shoulder in high school and then knees 2 years ago.
Right.
Whatever it was.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I got to tell you, I was really bummed in the group text. I sent that joke.
What joke? Oh, I meant to respond.
Yeah, I knew you guys did.
Hashtag
You guys were all
things
sick.
only said I wasn't sick in Tennessee.
Kristin and I were out at Char the other night. And
yeah.
Hashtag things you only hear in Tennessee.
Hilarious couple. And the guy started talking about, all the documentaries about being vegan or whatever. And his explanation was...
lettuce isn't fun to shoot or something.
Yeah. If God would want us to eat vegetables, he'd have made broccoli more fun to shoot.
What it was.
And I was laughing hard.
Yeah.
I may have had an adult beverage or two.
I was about to say, how many beers you had before that?
Feeling...
I got nothing from you guys. I was bummed. I was like,
I was probably puking again
That's
at that
funny.
point.
I wasn't
think that's true.
It was Saturday night, wasn't it?
Friday night.
It was Friday night after you guys were all sick.
I'm just
I didn't have my
flighty.
phone. We went out to dinner, and then I got back to my phone. I feel like it was like a couple hours after that I got it, and I was like, it's kind of weird. I hate when people like
long after the fact.
Yeah, it's weird to me.
Yeah.
I laughed and I thought I responded, but then I got distracted.
That's
like
hilarious.
normal.
Squirrel.
Yeah, literally. I was like, what? Where am I?
That's all right.
Did he say broccoli? I think I have broccoli in the fridge.
Let's go make some broccoli.
Rich, I found this. It's the Spartan credo. Do you know what it is? And I was like, wow. I wonder if Rich models everything off this. It's so appropriate right now because I'm exhausted
Credo.
from
Are
this
you
morning.
sure?
So, sweat more in training and you'll bleed less in war. That's like Rich in a nutshell. Like 19 million.
I can't
Like
help
training
that
is.
I sweat so much.
No, I'm not
Right.
talking about sweat. I mean because
Is that really the Spartan credo?
Yes, because we
I've heard
train.
that a
Like
lot.
there's so much fitness that goes on that events don't even seem like anything for
like
you
what
guys.
Spartan credo is that? Did they actually write that down on like a stone tablet and pass it on,
I
or
don't
is that
know.
like
I was not
is
in
that the
Greece
Michigan Spartan?
studying.
Like
Is that
Michigan State Spartans?
I,
Like
Is Sparta next to us? The Spartans?
is that? No, they're
No.
Warriors.
I
They're the
can't
warriors.
Yeah, that's
actually.
the
It would
first
be
thing that
kinda
comes
redundant.
up. The Spartan Warrior Credo.
The Spartans? Yeah.
I
it would be.
actually probably got it from the Spartan race website, if I'm being fully transparent.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was
Maybe that's
appropriate,
what it
and
is.
it reminded me
Sounds
of what you
kinda-
do.
Spartan code, and it has the
Cam looked it
Spartan
up.
race thing on there.
She
What's-
said that it's true.
What's
Yeah,
the
the
other?
first thing I
Because
saw.
the internet says it's true.
Yeah, the internet. What other more reliable source would you?
Wikipedia.
I'm on Wikipedia right now.
You listened to
thought-
something about Wikipedia the other day, didn't you?
I listened to a
I mean,
podcast
anybody
with the
can
guy
put
who
anything
started
on Wikipedia,
Wikipedia.
so-
That is true. They can contribute anything.
The guy who started Wikipedia. It was actually a really cool podcast.
Yeah, I remember you
It
saying
was
that.
really cool to listen to him talk about what that was and how he got it started. I thought, I'm not going to say it right, but you see like Moulin Labe. I'm not saying it right.
Milan Labe.
Yeah.
That's Coach Chaffin uses that one.
What is that?
Isn't
Never
that
heard
like, I thought that was like the Spartan
I don't
Oh.
remember.
code or creed.
Oh, I don't know what that
Will
one
you,
means.
will you Google that?
Milan Labe.
Is it like
What does it mean?
something like
I couldn't tell you.
Oh, here we go.
take it from my cold
Come and
dead
take
hands?
them.
Yeah.
Classical expression of defiance.
Come
Yeah.
and take them.
You see a lot of tattoos like that, or
Leonidas.
Or
from
like,
the
yeah. The Spartan King said that.
Yeah.
classical expression of defiance.
Come and take it. Is that what it says?
Where did it just go? Come and take them.
Come and take them.
I don't understand.
There's a bunch of people out there really upset now because
Not-
we
we're
destroyed
not-
that
yeah, I was
and
gonna
murdered
say.
it.
Sorry.
I'm
So we're not going to get
Apologize.
into politics. Just kind of the funny highlights of politics. Did you watch any of the speech last night?
Oh, I watched the whole
No.
thing.
I watched quite a bit of it, but it's just so like he'll talk for a second and then half the room cheers.
You have to
and
get
then
through
the,
that
Then
part,
the other
yeah.
half just sits there on their hands. Like,
Yeah.
but the funniest part to me, I guess, is after it's over. Well, the two funniest
Oh, I
parts.
know what you're gonna say.
Trump walks up and Nancy Pelosi, and they're both just petty, which is funny to me.
Right.
And she reaches out her hand. He doesn't take it to shake it. And I
Nice.
don't know if he saw it. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know that part. Like, you could say either way. I'm sure he probably snubbed her.
Right.
The best is, not best, it's so childish. After the speech is over, Nancy Pelosi takes the speech and rips it in half. And you're just
God.
like,
Like on the screen,
her
like you just see her,
her
like
face, she just looks like a
Just an angry.
mean old woman.
she.
Yes.
And
She
I
did look-
just, I was just like, oh, okay, this
Yeah,
is
that
awkward.
was,
It was like every time he'd say something, she'd roll her eyes, and you're just like, oh.
She was,
Did he talk about the impeachment stuff at all, or did he just do State of the Union
When
stuff?
when
I
I
didn't-
watched,
I
he
didn't
did
see that
not.
part.
He was just talking about. Basically, he was giving his re-election speeches.
Oh.
Basically, what it sounded like to me. I mean, talking
Yeah.
about how great everything was and everything
Wow.
been turned around, and
That's
I
so.
mean,
that
a lot of the
is-
numbers you can't argue, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Economy's doing well right
I love
now.
how when they
But it's just the looks. You see one side and they're all clapping,
It's the
and the other
epitome
side
of-
they're just like these women and men are just
Yeah.
like have these snarls
Everyone.
on their faces. You're just like, oh man, politics suck.
But you know what's
Yeah.
really positive? I love when they highlight the people in the.
yeah, oh yeah.
Like, there was,
Rush Limbaugh got
Rush Limbaugh
the-
thing made me cry.
Yeah,
He has
he was
stage 4
shocked.
cancer.
He got the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
He
Wow.
sits
and
there
didn't
and
know,
cries.
and just like
Oh wow.
complete
It was
shock
so
on his
cool.
face. And then he highlighted the president of, was it Venezuela?
Yeah.
The real
Do you remember
president of Venezuela.
Did you see the 100-year-old guy and his
great
grandson? Oh, that part was so cool. So this guy he was like the first African American, I'm going to butcher this, but some kind of fighter pilot, something.
Tuskegee.
Airman?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 100 years old.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's like 75.
He looks phenomenal.
And his great-grandson is an 8th grader and was like the first 8th grader admitted into this program, and he's there with him, and he wants to be an airman just like that, and then be an astronaut or see the world from space. And it was like the coolest thing ever. That was really cool.
I think
just
that
like seeing the people
same
honored.
gentleman was same dude was at the start of the Super Bowl. They did the coin toss, and they had 4 guys who were 100 years old.
Oh, wow.
He was that guy?
And I think he was the guy that handed the coin to the referee.
Oh, really?
Because that guy looked to me like he wasn't...
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, actually, you're probably right.
He looked like he was 80.
Yeah.
Maybe 75 or 80. And the other gentlemen behind who were 100 were like, woo, they were having trouble.
But it's
they were
amazing
100.
that there were that many. I mean, I guess I just didn't recognize that there were that many people in their 100
right.
That's amazing.
years.
There was
range.
another one that he was, talking about this woman and all that she's done, and her husband's away on his 4th tour in the Middle East, and she got her 2 kids there, and then they bring the guy back.
Oh,
and
that's
she
cool.
didn't know they were coming, so it was pretty cool.
Oh,
but yeah, it was just stuff like that was cool, but it's just the politics of it is just so...
I think that what you're saying, it just blows my mind. There are so many good things happening in our country right now. We've never been more free.
Right.
There's never been more opportunity. I'm not saying there aren't problems that we should be working through. But then you go back to that politics thing, and I just can't even stomach it anymore.
It's so nasty.
Oh,
everybody's so nasty.
Yeah.
All of them.
Both sides are just
All
so
of them.
nasty.
It doesn't matter.
Or all 3 sides or 5 sides, however many sides there are now, I feel like it's just
Right.
But it's just so radical. Both sides are so radical, too radical. So
But we talk about controlling emotion and mindset stuff all the time. You're like, what in the world?
Yeah.
But it's it's pretty vehement.
I can't even get in those conversations with people. Even my friends that want to be all fired up about that stuff. I just can't.
yeah.
I just
Yeah, my
can't.
dad and my grandpa get fired up about it. Which, I mean, it's obvious, we need to concentrate on some of it because if you turn a blind eye to it, that's when the bad stuff really happens. But it's when people get so caught up in some of the stuff.
Right.
And so.
Well, it's kind of turned into a giant reality TV show,
Yeah.
and I don't like reality TV shows. So some of that stuff to me is just
too far.
oh,
Too
wow.
much.
It's just too much silliness.
But
Well,
anyway. That was the speech. I watched some of it, but then I was just like, okay, I get it.
I think it's important to try to teach their own, obviously, but I like to at least try to be informed on some of those things. I feel
agree.
it's I get to afforded all these freedoms. The least I can do is listen.
Watch,
and
I think that's important. I'm not saying we shouldn't not pay
be in
attention
the know
to it.
for
It's just,
sure.
It's just a little bit hard now.
Yeah, I say that, but then it's when I get my Wall Street Journal, do I read that first? I'm like, nah, is there sports? Is there recipes?
Well, I do. I have to back way up, take the cartoon out of it, and go, what's actually happening?
Yeah. And is part of it a show to distract you from something else.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I feel like.
Let's talk about
right
policies
now
now. I want to know about policies and actual implementation of what's going on.
Yeah. Well, after that, I watched Blink of an Eye.
What's
It's
that?
a documentary on Michael Waltrip.
Oh, really?
That'd
be kinda
NASCAR
cool.
driver.
I was gonna say, who's that?
So he raced. Darryl Waltrip. It's Darryl Waltrip's brother. But he raced for I forgot how many years. But he started 462 times.
Wow.
And not won one race, right?
Wow.
And so
He didn't win a race?
didn't win one race. He'd been close a bunch of times, had some stuff happen, car stuff or whatever. So fast forward, or back up a little bit, he'd early on in his career, become pretty good friends with Dale Earnhardt Sr. And kind of a funny relationship, I guess, because Darryl Waltrip's super kind of goofy and always been known for kind of being eccentric, and Dale's kind of that hard line intimidator kind of, but behind the scenes is goofball, whatever. But became really good friends, and there's these ups and downs, and everybody's talking about Michael Waltrip and how he can't drive and blah blah blah. Well, fast forward to 2000, end of 2000, right before 2001 season, and Dale Earnhardt decides to have 3 Winston Cup top level series drivers. before he had 2 in the Busch Series, so like the next level. And so they're like, all right, well, who's going to drive it? And he's like, Michael Waltrip. And everybody's like, why the hell are you going to have Michael Waltrip drive this car? Guy can't win a race, blah, blah, blah. Right. And Dale's like, that's what we're doing. So they get a sponsor, get Napa to sponsor it, big, huge sponsor. First race, Daytona 500, 2001. It's, Dale Sr. comes up with this plan. Michael, like, screwed up one of the qualifying races, blah, blah. He's, kicking himself, and Dale pulls him into the truck and is like, here's what we're going to do. He's like, yeah, I screwed up yesterday, blah, blah. He's like, I don't give a shit about that. He's like, here's how we're going to win on Sunday. And Michael's like, I've been dwelling on this for 24 hours. And Dale's like, we're going to win this race, and this is how we're going to do it. Me, you, and Dale Jr. are going to stick together. We're going to win this race. Oh. And he's like, sure thing, man. Like, whatever. And Dale Jr. and has Dale in there too, and Jr. And he's like, I'm like, he's crazy. He's like, it's every man for himself, but whatever. Right. Well, so it comes down to the last 3 or 4 laps, and it's Michael Waltrip, Dale Jr., Dale Sr., and it's really happening, and they're kind of talking about, well, it's the race that Dale died.
What?
Oh.
And so,
oh my gosh.
So he's kind of like doing this blocking thing where he never, like, that's not Dale Earnhardt. Like, he was going to win no matter what. He didn't care. But he's doing this blocking thing, trying to block, and so the story is, Waltrip goes through all this. Daytona 500, wins the Daytona 500.
He won? He did win?
He wins.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Biggest race of your career, the Super Bowl of NASCAR, whatever. Wins the race, doing this. His best friend, the guy who gave him a shot, died while he wins this. He's going through the celebration. While he's in the celebration, one of the other drivers comes up and he's like, hey, how's it going? It was the guy that got in the wreck with Dale, and he's like, hey, I saw Dale. It's not good. Like, not good. And you can just see it talks about, like, you see him being happy and nobody really knows what goes on, but you know what happened. Yeah. And then just him talking about, not many people have experienced their happiest moment, most exciting moment, and their darkest time ever so close to each other.
Same day.
And so it's kind of, it's good. It's sad though. Hillary was not into NASCAR whatsoever, but by the end of it, she's just bawling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it was sad.
Which one of the Waltrips brothers is the guy who's the announcer?
Daryl, both of them, technically. Daryl was up in the box.
Which is the one that says boogity, boogity, boogity?
That's Daryl. Okay. And so Daryl, what sucks is Daryl's announcing that race. That's his first.
That's right. He was first race. That's right. I remember the story.
And he's like, Mikey's going to win, blah, blah, blah. And he's like happy for Michael, and he turns around, and it's so weird because he's like, oh, I hope Dale's okay, and just kind of says it like that, and you're just like, now it sucked. I mean, I remember that. Growing up, NASCAR was huge. Obviously, you guys have seen Dad's barn, but like that was that's one of the few times I've ever seen my dad cry, because they'd met him a couple times, and like it was hard for our family. But man, it was crazy to relive some of that stuff. But it was a good documentary.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that.
It was it's intense. Like, you don't think about. I mean, literally, he was saying, I went from the happiest moment of my life. Yeah. Winning the thing he's dreamed of for 26 years.
Right.
And like to shove it in all these people's face that I just won. Yeah. Right. And then 5 minutes later you find out your best friend, the guy who gave you a chance, died.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Now that you said it, I've heard that story, and I've
never heard that story.
That's absolutely one of the craziest stories in all of sports history.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most definitely.
That's so sad.
I don't know why I never knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what's kind of, they flash forward, it's the rest of the season. They come back to Daytona because there's 2 races in Daytona, and the second one is usually on 4th of July. And Dale Jr. wins, and Michael gets second in the race, which was kind of cool. And so what was kind of cool is, like, Dale won, but Michael still comes down in the infield and and so he gets to celebrate a little bit of his win.
This is like getting me choked up.
It's still, it's sad, it's rough, and you kind of look at him and you're just like, you feel bad for the guy. He's like, I've never once been to therapy, and you're like, maybe you kind of should have. Yeah. But I mean, it's sad.
When you understand that story, you understand why the Earnhardt fans and those people are out there, why it does mean so much. If you don't, from the outside, it's kind of like,
whatever.
Yeah. What's the big deal?
It was huge for us growing up. Like I said, that's our family vacations were either we went 4-wheeler riding, like camping, or we went to NASCAR races. That was my childhood, or to Michigan to visit family. We didn't do the beach and stuff like that. So But yeah, it was intense.
Did you see the podcast that Rogan did with Junior?
Yeah. Actually,
that was really good.
It was good. It was real good. It was kind of sad.
It was, but he told the story about his relationship with his dad.
Yeah, it was kind
of
of how he was very strained growing up, and he just felt like he was never good enough, and all this, and then he starts racing, starts doing good, and his dad kind of gave him a chance when everybody else was like, hey, you should put Junior in the car. And he's like, really? Put Junior in the car?
Yeah.
And he wasn't even told. He walked into the shop one day.
That was crazy.
And his name is on the car, Dale
That's
Jr.
crazy.
And he's like, who's messing with me right now?
Yeah, he thought it was a prank.
He thought it was
and
a prank.
upset.
He's like, you assholes. Like,
Oh my
who
gosh.
did this? And they're
No
like,
way.
well, you're driving the car. And so he did great. He won 2 championships in the Busch Series. And so they moved him up. And
But was
But-
his dad coaching him along
No,
the way? Like,
no,
how
that's
did
what's
that happen?
that's what's
the
crazy.
crew chief had to convince his dad,
the
right?
crew chief.
So
yeah,
how
Tony
did he even
Uri-
get in a car?
Tony Uri, so he would drive. Him and his older brother would share a late model car, and so late models are like short track, local races. And it's funny, he's talking about you need to go listen to the podcast, but it's really good. He talks a ton about his concussions and kind of why he stepped away from NASCAR and trying to live up to the expectations of his dad and that type of stuff. Well, so he's talking, he's like him and his brother had shared this car, and their dad basically didn't help him at all.
Wow.
And he said he came back one weekend. He's like, Dad, I won the race, blah, blah, blah. He goes, well, was so-and-so not there?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, actually, no, he wasn't there. Because apparently this guy at this certain track, I think it was Myrtle Beach or something like that, always won the race. Like, always. And
So-and-so there. Aw.
Yeah.
and sure enough, the one
top
time
driver wasn't there.
and so and so he ended up getting his. I don't remember the exact story, but what we were talking about, where they Tony Uri Sr., who was the crew chief on the car, when I think it might have been Ron Hornaday or somebody was driving the car before anyway, and they moved up or whatever it was. And so they were like, I think you should put Junior in the car. And he's like, really? Put Junior in the car? He's like, yeah, I think we should do it. And so they end up doing it. He wins 2 championships and whatever. And Dale Jr. says when that happened, their relationship got super close. And
that was
he
the
got to go with
cool
Dad
part.
all the time. But
Wow.
what sucks is he got 2 or 3 years of that, and then his dad died.
short,
And like he's
That's
like
it?
he's like my dad never once coached me except for one time. He said one time, we're at Bristol, and he's like, I suck. He's like, I'm just missing this, missing that. And he goes, I hear this voice get on. He's like, all right, let off here. Step in the gas now. Let off, whatever. And he's like, I never thought about it that way. He's like, this is so cool. My dad, he ends up winning the race or whatever after the practice. And he's just like, man, I wish I would have had that stuff. And he goes, I feel like down the road he would have helped me with that stuff, but it was you need to listen to the podcast. That was
actually
actually
really good podcast.
sad, yeah.
Wow.
And he was promoting his book. He had a cool book.
About the concussions.
About the concussion stuff and CTE and all that.
Wow.
That's an amazing story, just their lives, who they are inside that whole world.
Well, it's amazing how
Seriously.
successful he was without, I feel like you'd understand it more if, it was cultivated from him being taught, but
You just kind of assume sometimes
Yeah.
that,
me, I would probably, if Trice, I would help him out any way I could, but some people just aren't like that.
Yeah.
And that's just, because, Junior is a 3rd generation, because Dale's dad was also a race car driver, and
I wonder if
maybe
he
that's the way
helped
his
him.
dad was,
Wow.
who
Yeah.
knows?
But
So.
I was actually thinking about that the other day because there was, I don't know if it was baseball or football that was on, and they were saying so-and-so and their father did this, and it's unbelievable but cool at the same time. Actually, Mayhem's a great example of it, of the momentum that a person or group of people can have when coached or pulled along by certain things. Because it's the statistic likelihood of being a professional football player or baseball player and is unlikely. And then you have 3 generations go and do it.
Yeah.
Or Mayhem, 3 different
That blink of blink of an eye, it interviews Daryl some. And Daryl's or Michael's kind of talking about how he wanted to race his whole life, and he was 12 years old, and he wants to buy his go-kart, and it's $500, and his parents are like, we don't have $500. He's like, well, Daryl's in Winston Cup at that point, so he's making some pretty good money, so he calls Daryl. He's like, I know who I'll call Daryl. So he calls Daryl. He goes, sorry. He's like, lightning doesn't strike twice. He goes, I put mom and dad through a lot, and I don't think they want to go back through that. So he didn't buy the go-kart for him.
Wow.
And Daryl, you can see now, Daryl's he feels bad. He's like, I wish I would have helped him more.
Yeah.
Like you can like see it on his face. He's like,
Yeah.
I was not a good big brother. He's like, I was selfish. And Michael was like a people pleaser, or is a people pleaser, and he's like, I was selfish. And so it's kind of, you're like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I think that like obviously like I imagine like parents, siblings, people, like you want people to not like pull them forward and help them grow by not just handing them something.
Right.
But I feel like it's either some kind of
a nudge.
Right, like you went through either some trauma or there's some maybe ego things that you have to go through if you're not willing to help your loved one or friend to cultivate, especially knowing what you know. Like I feel like there has to be a major block. There's again, like
I think there's also too a concern for some people that they don't want to push like their kid too hard in something that they enjoy just because they enjoy it too.
Yes.
So it's like like you're saying, there's like a balance, should probably be a balance,
or
you know?
torture
it's
them
not
because,
black and white.
If you know what it takes to do something like that and you're like, I don't know if you really want to.
Like I'm sure you can all think of like someone like that was a great athlete like when you were growing up, but it's because their parents like made them like go running or like do all these different things, and now they don't enjoy doing it. Or they just don't enjoy doing anything like that anymore, you know?
I've seen examples of, you know, moms and dads do it really well. And then moms and dads do it really bad.
Yeah.
And
like
even
those
in
shows that are like, you know.
Gosh.
Yeah.
You're like, why? It also goes back to like their trauma or insecurity. Why are you torturing your child like this?
For sure.
Why are you forcing them to do this?
I'm going to watch that documentary though.
It's good.
I know. I really want to
amazing.
watch
It was good.
What was
I
it
did know
called
a little
again?
that story.
Blink of an eye.
Blink of an eye. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Write that down.
That's a cool story.
Yeah, it's sad.
Crazy.
It's, you know, it's sad. That's the only way to put it, really, you know?
Yeah.
That's nuts. I can't think of anything else like that. I'm sure there are other stories out there, but not in sports like that, where it's
Junior was actually on Lance Armstrong's podcast too, but I haven't listened to it yet. I'll have to go back and listen to that and the Rogan one. Although you told me to listen to Robert Downey Jr. on Rogan the other day, and it was really good.
Yeah.
And
I haven't listened to podcasts.
He had so many insightful things to say. And one of them I thought was really cool, and it kind of like in regards to like team bonding and like having to do stuff like that. He said you can't replace familiarity, because Joe was asking him, he's like, so like with like the Marvel cast in movies, he's like, do you like take these other guys like, you know, Captain America out and like size him up and like, is he a good fit for the whatever? And he was laughing saying, I think it's funny that you think I have the authority to do that. I do not. But he said you absolutely can't replace familiarity on a set with your team. And I thought that was super valid to like what you guys do too. When you bring someone new in, it takes time to truly know exactly how they move and like
what they're thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, can they see those spots? Can they see those holes? I mean, we've all worked together at different times. Like, I could literally tell you how they breathe when they're, and I'm sure that vice versa, you know, like,
yeah.
So it's crazy to think like even in like acting, anything you do, the more you understand your team, likelihood for success improves, you know?
And you totally get to where you can recognize someone by the way they move.
Yeah.
Like at a distance, you know, right, who it is, just because physically of how they move their bodies when you're paying attention to
and
that.
if they're feeling good or
you
about
can
to
tell
die.
a lot about, you know, what their mood is.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, and you just did that with Scott, like, you know, which is pretty cool that you guys have that. And then like quite a few things. Wadapalooza coming up.
You kind of know, though, like with Scott, I knew as a competitor because I knew him as a competitor first. So, yeah, you already knew. I mean, you got to, you know, as much as people want to say, well, I don't worry about anything about my competitors, you have to. Like, especially in what we do, like, you got to know, hey, if I push here, are they going to, you know, burn themselves out, or I need to wait them out, or, you know, whatever it is. So you kind of, that was good between me and Scott, but what was hard for us was, like, we had to have this talk. I don't know if we talked about this last time on the podcast, but we had to have the talk of, like, hey, we're not competitors anymore. So we don't need to kill each other. You know, like we get into
on the same team.
That's awesome.
no, like we were like, and he agreed, you know, because he starts trying to match me, I'd start trying to match him. If we don't need to do that, especially if we're ahead in something, or even like, hey, like it's not a race of, hey, who's ready first to get back to the rings, or like, hey, whose ego is bigger, you know, on the run. I knew he was better on the sandbag, and so I was like, hey, I'll give you a break when I can, but I'm not going to be a hero here. You're moving the sandbag better, so let's do it. And so that was, you know, it was nice to have that. And so it's, you just gotta know each other, and it takes. You could train together and know, you know, a lot, but competition is where it really comes out. So that's why we're going to try to do a couple different sanctionals to really see where where it all fits together.
Be better to do that early than
Wait till
be having that during the games,
For sure.
Well, it is funny too because like there aren't many like year to year. There aren't many moments of like a regional or something that people are like, I remember that moment in CrossFit. But like you and him have that like iconic finish where you threw where you made the rule about what you can and can't do with the barbell because of Rich and Scott because he very few things like that happen. So I can imagine. I don't care who you are. If you're a born competitor, like you don't forget.
No.
You don't forget that stuff being edged out by half a whatever.
Yeah.
So
Facundo was asking his questions.
Oh.
And he's like, did you guys ever did either of you ever get mad at each other? And I'm like, I don't think I ever got mad at Scott for anything. But I mean, it's like, hey, you don't like your competitors. It's just what it is, we may not be, from September till December we're all right, but then as soon as January would roll around, we're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's just my mentality. It's how it, we always joke that it's like you can't be friends with other teams or other, now individuals it's a little easier because I don't care. Yeah. But teams wise, it's like, I don't like them. It's like, why? They're my competitor. I just don't like them. It's just the way it is.
It takes the edge away.
Yeah, it really
you
does.
You need that edge.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to be ugly.
Right.
You're like, they like the color green. I'm not into that red. No, we're not friends.
It's really interesting how different that mindset is that you've talked about as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't really need that piece like that as when you're working with the team because you're really working a balance from everybody and everybody doing their part. And is that right? I mean,
you still got to have some of that edge. It's just different. I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like, no, it's the same.
How you carry yourself inside the team is what I'm asking.
Oh,
about.
yeah.
I thought you guys feel that way about the competitors.
Yeah,
but
inside the team, it's like you can be a little bit more open about, hey, this is something I struggle on, so hey, take some. Where if it was individual, I wouldn't tell you that's a weakness of mine. So
I just was thinking if it
works so well with them as a team, especially because there's a lot of teams, especially if they're new and they haven't worked together, then people's egos do get the better of them and they're like, oh no, let's do these 50 worm thrusters unbroken. And then like 2 minutes later, they're crashing and burning in the workout. And then you see, the people that are like, no, let's strategy. Exactly.
The first time I went to the CrossFit Games, and I've talked about this, it was the craziest thing to me because all I had known was you guys working out. Mm-hmm. And then you go there and you literally watch people have a meltdown. Hitting
Lots
each
of
other.
meltdowns,
Shoving each other.
Like, yes.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
How does that help or work?
Talk about managing emotion. Wow.
Yeah.
It was interesting, though. Even Haley caught it when she first moved here. I'll never forget. It was like maybe after like the first couple days here, she looked at me and she was like, I'm just so thankful that I really thought like everyone was going to be going 100,000% at all times and be competitive with each other. And like, you guys all really like each other and you're doing this to all be better. And it's not like you're, as we always say, trying to put each other in the dirt. You are sometimes, but like in your own lane, in your own way as you go. You're not doing it like you'd never be doing a workout just to crush Kristin ever. Like that's your person. You lift them up, No. Unless you're Rich and Tasia putting each other in the dirt. Yeah. But other than that, that's why they're so fit. Right? No mercy. But it was just interesting because even her 18-year-old perspective back then was like, oh my gosh, I thought you guys would just be literally like pushing bleeding on the and instead you're encouraging each other to get better that way and pushing each other with your strengths and weaknesses as opposed, like, again, the awareness of.
It is cool to hear her perspective though on, because she's trained elsewhere, as we all have. And
I haven't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Elsewhere.
As many of us girls have, and how she said we are very like supportive of each other and that kind of thing, instead of like sometimes when it's competitive, it can get catty in a way that's like, it's more than it's just competitive. It gets like, it's different.
Oh,
exactly. With
we've
girls,
all
it
had
just
horror
gets different.
stories,
so it's really cool to hear her say that, because
it's a giant difference between competitive edge and ego.
Yeah.
And I think there's components of both of those, but it's different.
Yeah. That's exactly what he was just talking about. Like, it's amazing that you guys had that conversation. We're like, hey, this is how it works.
Yeah, we were.
It's been funny for me to watch people come to the barn to train with you with ego.
It's funny.
And I'm watching you and I'm watching them and I'm thinking, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
This is not going to work.
It's not
and
gonna
then
go good.
you've always managed that stuff and handled it really well. But I've seen dudes with big egos show up to the point where, honestly, it really bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not even my barn or my place. And I'm like,
I tried.
I don't like that guy, you know. And I've asked you a couple times about some of those things. You're like, it's all good.
They'll be gone tomorrow. Usually.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah.
You want to know, like, this is like, Rich, you probably don't even see this. This is one of the coolest gifts you have, is that new people come to the barn, and you've done it to me, and I'm sure you've done it to the other girls many times in life, especially my first couple years here, when I'd be like, you'd put up a workout, and I'd be like, is that, and you're like, it's fine, just do it. And I'm like, I don't know how to do it. I've never done that. And like, guys will come into you'll write a workout up, and you'll be like, just do the sandbag. And the guy like looks around, and the look on his face means, you know, he's never done it. And then he does it, and then after they come up, they're like, oh, I've never done that. I can't believe I just did that. And that's one of like my favorite things. Like, it's not the ego side, but like, Rich always just makes people do stuff they can do. It's so awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's this, when you've won as many times as you've won, and I don't mean this in an ego way, you just have. You've proven yourself. So there's that piece. You don't really have to struggle too much with some of that.
Right.
And then the second place is I mean, other people should be smart enough, and this is not an ego thing either, but when you show up, do what people are doing around you, especially when people have been successful.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Haley said one day to me, she said, man, the coolest thing is coming here is that I'm doing things I would have never forced myself to do before.
Right.
She's pushed herself. And it didn't come from a bunch of talk. It just came from a bunch of, well, this is what we're doing today, so let's go, you know?
I think that's the other thing, though, too, and about, like, how you program, Rich, is, like, the same statement as before. You can't replace familiarity.
Right.
Like, doing the highest skill, the hardest thing, over and over again, it's familiar now. Like, it's just, there's a difference between really fearing. I can honestly say, when I did CrossFit in the beginning, I hated heavy dumbbell snatches. I hated certain rope climb things, and I didn't do them.
And then you get emotional, too, when they
like,
come up, and you do it enough times, it takes the emotion out, for sure.
And now it's like, you get hazed enough by him, there isn't really anything that's scary anymore. Like, oh, you want me to swim with piranhas? That's fine. Oh, parallel handstand walks?
That's my plan. Just a bunch of zombies.
You know? But, Rich, I'm going to follow my face.
Calm
just go.
as Hindu cows. No, just do it. You will climb that rope. Jedi mind tricks.
Right. And when you're done, I want you to drink that Kool-Aid right there.
Yep. Go lay down. Sleepy time. Sleepy time.
Anyway,
Every once in a while, I'm going to go ahead and say this. People are going to freak out. We have kids' gummies that have the brand, Vicks brand.
Oh, yeah.
They're called Sleeps or something like that.
It's okay. They're going to fly off the
So when the kids are super crazy sometimes, Trice, you want a sleepy gummy? Sleepy gummy!
Shoot, man. Back in my day, my parents did not drink, but they had whiskey.
Yep.
And they would put it in a tablespoon and give it to us. If you're sick or something.
Did that really knock you out?
Really?
Yeah.
That's small amount?
Kidding.
Oh, yeah. That
Get you
small
just
body. I mean,
a
have you ever seen what
tablespoons of
sugar
whiskey?
does to these kids? Like, think about, like,
whoops.
what, like how small amount of sugar? Elly,
That's true.
what did you give? She was over one night and she gave 2, what was it?
Trice. They were, what kind of
I
cookies
wanted to
were
kill
they?
her. Kill
Were
her.
they Tim
2
Tams?
Tim Tams. He's running around with Tim Tams at 9:30 at night, bouncing off the effing walls like nuts. And I'm like, Elly, think about what you just did. You gave that kid 46 grams of sugar.
He's not mad. He's just disappointed, but also kind of mad.
No, I was pissed.
Okay, to be fair,
I was pissed.
No, I'm a doormat. Like, they just know I'm a pleaser. Like, they can spot it 10 miles away. Lakeland had a couple cookies.
And he's double fisting Tim Tams like a frat boy trying to bash his head into the wall. I'm like, Elly, and I look over and Ellie's like chewing on Tim Tams. I think she had a couple bottles of wine before that, but she's just like feeding Tim Tams. Trice is running around, the house is on fire.
Okay, I gave some to Violet.
I was like, I was that time I was pissed. I was like, get out of my house.
I didn't know you were actually mad. I didn't know better. And I thought it was fair. I was like, fair is fair. Like, she got some, so you know.
And she shouldn't have had them either that late.
I asked. I was like, is this okay? All I heard was like, yes, from the crowd. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe
It's
they're
probably
done
Lakeland.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, you're fine.
It's fine.
Jesus,
Give me
it's
that
fine.
cocaine. Yeah. Here.
Oh.
Put some heroin right here, Ellie. My parents said it's okay.
The best part was like they do have like it is kind of like NASCAR in their house because they have this great like track like you can do like go around this wall in a circle, figure eight this way,
Yeah.
and they were like all three doing figure eights, and I was like, oh, this is good.
Yeah. The sugar high is real.
Someone's not sleeping tonight. Sorry, Rich. That's for all those workouts.
That's a good story.
Go swim by yourself.
Oh my gosh.
Me and lime
Full
green
circle.
skivvies.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I think that's
That's
a
it.
wrap.
That's it. That's episode 83. A lot of nothingness, but hey.
Oh.
Good stuff.
Trifecta, RP strength, inside tracker. Get some mindset stuff coming.
Yeah.
Wee.
Sign up.
Sign up.
It's good. We're doing it.
Roll it. CrossFit Mayhem stuff. I think we got some stuff coming out for Wadapalooza. I don't know if that pre-sale's done or what, but
Usually
check it
bright.
out.